There we go. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Audit and Finance Committee meeting for the 2022 budget. It's been a beautiful day so far. As a matter of fact, it's been really a beautiful sunny week so far. And so we're going to get started. We have the Audit and Finance session number 3 with part 2 of our human services agencies. Before we begin, I would like to take attendance, and I will begin now. I'm going to start with the members of the Audit and Finance Committee, and then I'll move to the rest of our members. Mr. Peter?
Here, Madam Chair.
Mr. Clay?
Here.
Mr. Grimm?
Here.
Mr. Ray Joyce? Ms. Lakakis?
Right here.
And Mr. Mayo?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
And myself, Wanda Willingham, I'm present. I'll now go through the rest of the legislature. Mr. Beston?
Here.
Mr. Brewski?
Here.
Mr. Bergdorf? Ms. Chapman?
Here.
Right. Mr. Clay?
Here.
Mr. Cleary?
Here.
Mr. Commisso?
Here.
Ms. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Demolowitz? Mr. Drake? Mr. Efekoro?
Here.
Mr. Ethier? Majority Leader Feeney?
Here.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Mr. Fine?
Here.
Mr. Grimm?
Here.
Chairman Joyce? Ray, you already checked in, is that right? Ray Joyce? Mr. Coon? Ms. Jackers is here. Ms. Lockhart?
Here, Madam Chairman.
Very good. Minority Leader Moriello?
Here.
All right. Mr. Mayo is here. Ms. McLaughlin?
Here.
Ms. McLean Lane?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Miller?
Present.
All right. Mr. O'Brien is here. Mr. Purley? Ms. Plotsky? Mr. Reedy?
Here.
Mr. Reinhardt? Mr. Ricard?
Present, Madam Chair.
So locked down to a specific
Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Touche? Mr. Tunney?
Here.
Mr. Ward?
Here.
Ms. Whalen?
I'm here, Madam Chairwoman.
Very good. And myself, Ms. Willingham. Excuse me. So tonight, before we begin, I want you to know we're going to start with aging, which is found on page 68 in your budget book. We do have the chair of the Elder Care Committee, Ms. McLaughlin is present, as well as the Vice Chair, Bill Ricard. Our presenter this evening is going to be Ms. Ritano, the Commissioner. So good evening to everyone. Welcome to our committee 2022 agency budget review. Department heads, you will be asked a series of questions related to your budget. and are expected to answer as completely as you can. If an answer to our questions cannot be provided at this time, then please indicate when you are able to provide it to the committee. Legislators have been provided with your written responses to our budget information request letter, and we do thank you for your cooperation in providing them. However, in order to complete a more thorough examination of your budget, it may be necessary to forward you some additional questions after tonight's hearing. So here's a note to our members: please hold questions regarding salary increases and retitled lines that have not been requested by departments, but were included in the agency's proposed budget column for 2022. Those questions will be addressed by the Deputy County Executive at the November 3rd, 2021 budget meeting. At that meeting, details will be provided about the comprehensive workforce development plan and related salary retitled line changes. So let us now begin. Ms. Rattano, are you present?
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Now
can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and legislators and all who are here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to present the budget for the Albany County Department for Aging. Thank you to County Executive Dan McCoy and to the legislature for always supporting our efforts generously with your time and your funding. Every year, I end my remarks by saying a budget is a moral document. It doesn't change tonight. With another year of COVID under our belt, it's evident to our friends, neighbors, clients, legislators, that this document touches on the heart of the conduct of government. The budget is the primary instrument which gives life to the aspirations of our local government. This year, my office vaccinated almost 2,000 seniors. Our spontaneous partnership with Congregation Beth Emeth and Rite Aid was remarkable. Our home delivered meal providers and congregate sites were able to serve those in quarantine at a moment's notice, not once or twice, but continually, 7 days a week for months. No one refused our request. In fact, Colony Senior Services under Diane Conroy LaCivita opened their commissary on a Sunday night so we could feed a large family diagnosed with COVID. New York State Office for the Aging waived all the requirements that enabled us to serve the seniors. We kicked into high gear, Zooming with clients and meeting them on the street to sign paperwork so we could expedite the help they needed. Although our 19 congregate sites were closed most of the time, our seniors received grab-and-go meals or were moved to home-delivered meals. One of the projects we worked on to help reduce isolation was to ask seniors to make squares for our pandemic memorial quilt. The quilt is making its way around the county for all to see. We have seen a sharp increase in seniors needing help with health insurance, an increase of 73%. And because of the pandemic, also an increase in needing legal assistance. Currently, we are in the middle of our Stop the Flu project. 3,000 bags that contain thermometers, masks, hand sanitizer, water bottles, vaccine card holders, and even tea are being distributed. And by the way, there's nothing in that bag that's going to stop the flu. So get your flu shot and get your COVID booster. We had seniors who couldn't see grandchildren or family for months. There was a 276% increase in seniors who needed reassurance calls and shopping assistance. We're getting calls from seniors who are concerned about the forecast that heating bills will see a significant rise. About 22% of our seniors receive HEAP. Their Social Security cannot outrun the utility bill. Our meeting with Senator Schumer on this issue was positive, and we hope the federal government will get more aid to the HEAP program, make the process less cumbersome so we can get the money into the hands of the seniors faster. This year, our office was devastated when one of our seniors on the advisory board lost her daughter to illness, and months later, her grandson to gun violence. It was unspeakable grief for all of us. Although we lost some seniors to COVID, I can tell you in the past 2 weeks, we saw 2 seniors reach 100 years old and 105. Our office walks the road with our seniors for the good and the bad. We have placed before you a budget that we think is modest, despite the fact that we have been lucky recipients of stimulus money that we believe, with your support, will get us through until 2024. Governments can effect improvements in the quality of life of its citizens, and Albany County does it better than any county I know. Thank you to the county executive and to all of you for your kindness and generosity to the Department of Aging. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Furtado. I'll start. I don't see any hands up yet, but I will go ahead and start with some questions. Your fees for service line is increasing by almost 1.1 million over 2021 levels. Please discuss the overall increase and increases in related programmatic expenses, and including congregate meal expense, caregiver expenses, aging services, and also our combined question 2, discuss the various increase in revenues across the following lines: supportive service grant, congregate meals grant, and the home delivered meals grant.
Geez, Wanda, I'm 72. You lost me at the $1 million.
Right now, think of food, congregate meals, home delivered meals. You can start.
Let's break this down. The reason why we've got more money is because of the stimulus that we received. Yes. So that's why you see that line has been raised. All of those lines are raised, all because of the stimulus. Tell me now, what was the question about the congregate meals?
Well, you meant those two, the home delivered meals and the congregate meals?
Yeah. So let me explain a little bit what's happened there. So with the pandemic, the congregate meals, we had to close them. We still have 3 that are closed. They were open, but they closed now because of COVID. We only have 1 out of the 3 that's still looking to get started again. What happened was, they moved to grab and go meals, even though that they couldn't eat within a congregate site. We got word from NYSOFA recently that they're going to continue with the grab and go. I know it seems to go a little bit against of the spirit of what we want to have happen with the congregate meal, which is, less isolation, a chance for people to socialize, but they're going to keep the grab and go open because it's been so beneficial. They've seen it across the state. It's been so beneficial to the seniors. The people who were frail enough, and you have to remember, during all of that time with the pandemic, people didn't have to go through assessments. NYSOFA gave us a lot of freedom with the money, so we could move it from line to line to line. Wherever we were seeing the need was where we moved the money to. So with people not having to go through assessments, but once we started to do the assessments again, because DSS could then go out again and do the assessments, we saw people they maybe were a little frail, so we could then put them on the home delivered meal schedule, which is it's a different kind of meal delivery than grab and go. Grab and go, you pretty well, you show up, you got your meal and off you go. Home delivered is different. Those are people who are truly homebound. Oh my God, you're going to have to prompt me. I forgot what your other part of the question was.
Okay, all right. So can you talk about the caregiver expenses, please?
Yeah, the caregiver expenses have increased, but they increased because of those reassurance calls. So when I told you that, when we were viewing all of that, it went up 270, what did we say, 273%, because we had seniors who needed a lot of reassurance and some seniors who needed home shopping. So we had people who would actually go out and do that. But we had a lot of seniors who just needed to be reassured every day. And even from the office, we were making calls to folks who were not just lonely, but frightened. And so that's why those expenses have gone up.
All right, now your enhanced in-home services expenses remains flat year to year at $1.3 million. So is this, reflective of an anticipated need for services?
Excuse me,
not increasing?
Madam Chair, you're not coming through, so we didn't hear you.
Enhanced, I'm sorry.
You said something about in-home?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I'm talking about the enhanced in-home services to the elderly program.
Yep.
So the expenses appear to remain flat, at 1.3 million. Yeah. So is this reflective of anticipated need for services not increasing year over year?
I think what you're seeing there, that's ISEP. And of course, we contract ISEP out to DSS. I think why you're seeing it looking so flat is because there's no home care workers to get out. So we need the money. It's not that people don't need the home care. It's just very hard to find people to go to work and to do those jobs now. And so everybody is scrambling. I'm hoping that's going to change, but I don't know. But we contract that out with DSS.
Oh, thank you so much. Before I move on, I would like to know if there's any questions. Is that you, Lynn? Okay.
That's me. I just I think somewhere I mentioned that you were going to try to continue the restaurant program in a smaller way, but yet it looks like there's no money in the line there. And so I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that.
There's money, right? We do have money in a different line that we would be able to use to start that program up again, but it would have to be done in a really reduced way because first of all, the restaurants don't have the workers either. Right. And we weren't able to get, when we did the restaurant program, we were able to get a nice group of restaurants who wanted to participate. They took a hit on that as well. It's not so easy now after the pandemic to get people to want to do that.
All right.
We're using, if you look at the congregate line,
yeah,
the money went into the congregate line.
Okay, so it's not in the restaurant congregate dining line.
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
The regular congregate line, yes.
Okay.
It's available. So it's available. Yeah.
Chair recognizes Carolyn McLaughlin, Chair of the Elder Care Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here this evening. I had a question with all of the shortages out in the community in terms of individuals that are needed to go to homes and the comment you made just about the restaurants. What can you tell me? And I hope this is not it's not a salary question. It's more a position question. You seem to go down to aging specialists. And you increased a special project, and is that a strategic coordinator? What are they?
So this year, that actually happened in 2019 because that title on that line, I don't know a better way to explain this, that we had 2 aging specialists.
Yes.
And so a lot of the work that the special projects person does is different than the aging specialist, but some of it overlaps. So that actually happened in 2019. I think with the way they structured things now, I think that's why. So we're not really down an aging specialist too.
Well,
That was a retitle thing. Retitled the position.
okay, so that's the explanation. I mean, I looked at that and I saw one went up and the other one was created. One went down and the other was created. So I made that assumption, but I had to ask the question anyway.
Yeah, but it's old. I mean, I don't understand it either, but it was old now.
But I don't. Okay, I guess I wasn't here in 19, so I didn't know that. And the way it looks here, like it just happened. So the way it's presented. So in the budget. But anyhow, with that, I just wanted to say that I'm glad to see, that the grab and go has been expanded a little bit in communities that I had not seen it occurring. And so I'm glad to see that happening, especially as the colder weather comes up and people are not able to get out to restaurants and to go out to eat. And if meals are being delivered to homes as well, I'm glad to see, as we had in our committee meeting, all of the different programs that are being expanded to provide those services. Can you explain to me, or I'd just like to ask, you probably don't have it tonight, but if you could, I would like, if you must have this information, by zip code, where these services are being carried out. If it would be possible to get that.
They happen in all the zip codes. I know. Which services are you talking about?
I mean, the congregate, you're saying all of the zip codes, but some services seem to be, they're not as visible. And so that's my concern. And people don't seem to know where they are. And I would like to be able to share that kind of information.
Okay, can I ask right now that's something that I believe the commissioner can deliver to us at another time?
Yeah, I didn't think she had it today, so I just was making the request.
Okay, maybe I can up my advertising budget, and now we can advertise it more.
Okay, whatever it takes.
Okay, yes. So, are you done, Ms. McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mr. Grimm.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Deb, you said the office had vaccinated 2,000 seniors and 263% increase in reassurance calls.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that kind of data. Thank you for collecting that stuff. I've been asking for data. That gives me some sense of what exactly you're accomplishing. And from your memo, apparently there's no pay raises over 2% in your department. Is that correct from the memo?
I'm sorry.
Union employees. The union employees the union is in negotiation, so there was nothing in relative to that.
Okay. 9 of your 11 employees get grants from somewhere else as partial grants. Is that correct?
We use federal and state money towards the salaries. Yes.
Do they? Is there any expectation is your expectation that will continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of the things that the New York State director said to all of the commissioners was when they got the increase in the money was that he hoped that people would get raises for all the hard work that they do. And I mean, NYSOFA is seeing that. And so that we can be able to retain the good employees that we have. Yes, in fact.
You have 10 county vehicles. Are they used on a daily basis? You have 10 county vehicles, according to your memo?
No, I have one.
All right, then I misread your memo then. Okay.
No, we have, I think we have how many, 10 people that can use it. We only have
Okay,
one card.
they show, okay, you have 10 employees that share one card. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Deb. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very welcome, Mr. Grimm. All right, I just want to thank, if there are no other questions, I want to thank Ms. Furtado for an excellent job. And if we have no other questions, we're going to move on to mental health, and I'm going to bid Ms. Furtado a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good night. Get your shot.
So we're going to move on right now to in our budget book, page 160, which is mental health. Our presenter for this evening is Dr. Stephen Giordano, and we will begin with his presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Great. So I'd like to just say I'm here tonight with my Deputy Director, Cindy Hoffman, and my Fiscal Director, Michael Fitzgerald. And with your permission, please, I'd like to just offer a few opening remarks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm proud to report to you tonight that the Department of Mental Health has been fully operational through the course of this public health emergency. All of our services have continued to operate and to serve the residents of Albany County. That includes our crisis services, our jail mental health services, our clinic services, and all of our community care management and forensic services. And I'm also proud to tell you that during this time, we were even able to innovate and expand some of our services. And just brief examples of that in the areas of telemental health, in the area of pharmacy services, alternative crisis response services, overdose survivor response. And we participated along with other county partners in the development of the first mental health court in the 3rd Judicial District of New York State. Those expansions and innovations were done in the midst of keeping up our operations during the public health emergency. Our mission is to provide a safety net of services for individuals who live with acute and chronic behavioral health illness. We do this in partnership, as many of you know, with 80 OMH and OASIS programs for which we have fiduciary responsibility through 100% state aid funding contracts. So we don't do this by ourselves, but we set the tone and the direction through our legally mandated planning and oversight and leadership over all those programs. As a result, New York State has identified us as a vital player in a complex mosaic of services in Albany County. You know, in the last year and a half, we've learned that we're vulnerable in ways that we could never have imagined, but we've learned that we are resilient in ways that we never knew until we were tested. So tonight, I'm really, truly proud to represent the women and men of the Department of Mental Health who have worked throughout this public health emergency. And I'm proud to present the county exec's budget for the mental health department. I believe we've kept our promises to those that have depended on us over the last 18 months. And I believe that this budget allows us to keep those promises moving forward. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any of your questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Giordano. If it's okay, I'm going to start with a couple questions that our chairwoman has been kind enough to let me begin with. So first, with inpatient hospitalization, it seems to be going up a little less than double. What is that primarily in reference to, going from 574 to about 900,000?
Well, that's a great question, and it's an important matter. There has been a dramatic change at the state level in the last year. As some of you may know, one of the mandated functions that every county department of mental health has across the state is to provide examinations to the courts throughout the county to determine competency to proceed in a trial. For all the years that I can remember, When someone was deemed to be not competent to proceed, they were sent to a state hospital to be what was called restored to competency, and the county had to share 50% of that cost. Last year, the governor, as part of his cost-saving initiatives, increased the requirement to 100% for all counties. So in effect, although that number is a moving target, we never exactly know how many people are going to be sent to the hospital. We doubled the previous year because we thought that was a safe estimate. It could be considerably lower, but unfortunately, it could be higher. That was a conservative estimate.
Thank you, Dr. Giordano. So another question I have is, both in mental health and, social services in general, we're seeing a lot of burnout from those who have had to do so much during COVID, as well as general burnout that comes with these very challenging careers. With crisis social workers or social workers in general, especially looking at mobile crisis, are you having trouble retaining or attracting talent? And if so, is there anything that's being done in this budget or can be done in this budget to better help retain or gain more individuals? Because we also know the need is very great. And when we have gaps on there, not only does it we either have a gap in service, which I know you try to avoid, or we have a strong increase in overtime. So if you could go into that a little bit, Dr. Giordano.
Well, all of those things are connected in exactly the way that you're alluding to. I think the general answer is yes, we have great challenges filling our positions overall. We have competition with the state on all of our programs, and we've talked in previous years how the mental health department will hire young clinicians out of graduate school and will work with them for 5, 6 more years and essentially train them, and then they go to the state. That's the backdrop for the answer to the question, though, that you're asking, which is there are some positions which are not as popular as others. And I would add to the crisis services, our jail mental health services. There are some people who that's what they want to do and they're committed to it, but the turnover is great, the burnout is significant, and their shifts, especially for our mobile crisis team, which goes 24/7, it's very, very hard to find people to replace anyone who is left. In this budget, we have, this is kind of part of the workforce development plan. I'll say briefly, we've really tried to look at this challenge and say, how can we incentivize, how can we attract, how can we retain people, especially for those challenging positions that are challenging to hire and with the hope of reducing overtime. And what we've done is we've increased a differential line in our budget where we hope that we can, at least modestly address those positions in such a way, if you're working overnight on a crisis social work position, we can reflect that in your hourly rate. It's just a piece, though, of what is a larger workforce development challenge throughout the mental health field.
Thank you, Dr. The only thing I would maybe advocate for in looking on some of this is, besides differential, is looking at potentially a next step program or something like that. One that looks at years of service potentially, which might allow better transfers, but also better recruitment rates as people go. I think we'd be very interested in that. I think the cost benefit analysis is probably there for that. I'd be interested in talking to you offline about that, just because I know that we're asking a lot of your department. I know that mental health is in a crisis point, and I would hate to be a penny wise and a pound foolish on that. And then, so I guess the only final question I have is, with mental health court and ACORD sort of both coming to the, looking to expand its services, and, also with LEAD and many other of those services, is there any reflection in this budget at this time for that potential expansion, both countywide or in the case of ACORD, or in the case of mental health court or LEAD, any advances in those programs?
Well, all of those innovative programs, which we're very proud to be a part of, we want to see expansion moving forward. Right now, with ACORD, we're in the initial pilot stages. We're learning about that. The mental health court is also a pilot, which is growing slowly. In this year's budget, we don't have, we're not reflecting that in terms of increase in staffing. We hope to see those programs expand moving forward. And also I will just say that, there's a lot of federal money that is on the horizon, and part of the workforce development plan that we are considering is how to maximize that in 2022 and 2023. So you don't see it today, but we're hoping that we'll see it moving forward.
Thank you very much, Dr. Giordano. I see that the chair of health, Mr. Ray Joyce, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Peter asked my question. I was concerned about the staffing. You hear about the great resignation and this pandemic fatigue that everybody's going through right now. But, in the health department, we watch trends. We watch, the numbers every day. This time last year, our 5-day average was 7 cases. And I saw it today, it's 87. Also, this time last year, we were 2 weeks from our first spike. Does the 2022 budget provide you the funding you think you'll need? I mean, we're 22 months into this pandemic. You guys have done an incredible job. Your team, Dr. Giordano, does the budget provide you what you need to carry the pandemic, the caseload driven by the pandemic into 2022? Does this budget provide you what you need to carry on your mission?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I believe it does. We've learned a lot of interesting things over the last year. One very powerful learning lesson was around telemedicine, telemental health. We learned that we could actually be more productive and reach more people through telemedicine and telemental health than we ever had before. And it's allowed us to be a little bit more flexible with our work, our staffing, and how many people need to be in the clinic at any given time, and or any of our services, quite frankly. And so we were able to hold ourselves at a high level of response to the community, and we have no reason to believe that that'll change moving forward. The demand has always been high for mental health services, and of course, as you point out correctly, if anything, it's gotten higher, but we're used to working in that environment. We're a safety net. We serve people who no one else will serve. All of our programs are at operational at very, very high levels in terms of capacity. But again, we work with 80 programs in partnership in the community. So we see our role not only as being the ones to respond to the needs as a result of COVID on mental health, but we're setting the tone and overseeing those 80 programs on addiction and mental health to kind of collaborate and partner. There's 2,500 people receiving addiction services right now across the county. They're not all in our programs. There's 2,500 folks in outpatient clinics. We have 650 of them. So part of my job is to ensure that our department is intact and responsive, but also to watch the balance throughout the community in those other programs. So a long way of saying, I'm very optimistic that we are positioned to continue to meet the need, but the need is very great.
Well, I got the floor. I just want to thank you for everything you've done you and your team over the past 22 months. It's been a real challenge, and I know you've seen a great increase in caseload. So thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Grimm.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Doctor. Good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
This may be a mistake in my notes. I just, because I can't find the line item now, but there's a line item for robocalls. Is that in your department?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that made me curious. So what's that about?
Well, over the last couple of years, we've tried to always keep an eye out towards being more efficient, more businesslike, and more professional overall. And one of the ways that we have addressed folks maybe not showing up for their appointments is to remind them. And one of the ways to remind them, just like the rest of the medical and mental health world, is, we had people actually on the phone all day long calling folks. And we were able to work with a company that was able to automate that very successfully. And we call them, I think that's what they call it, robocalling. And what we do is we plug in the schedule and they automate the reminder calls to our patients. And we immediately saw an increase in keeping of appointments. So robocalls.
Yeah, you don't have personnel having to make the calls, which is kind of silly. Most doctors' offices are like that now. Now, do you use text? Because I get a lot of text too. If they have. Yeah,
we're ever evolving in our efforts. The robocall was the big step. We're not robo-texting at this point.
Right. Yes. Well, it's something to think about, because the text I think you probably could do for free, and the robocalls I think were $3,100 in your budget. So that's an option to consider.
Understood.
Now, under your shredding costs tripled. I'm saying this is something now about shredding that's changed. I was curious about why that happened.
As I understand it, we've engaged in a professional concern that shreds our records or the documents that are in need of shredding, as opposed to us dumping them into the garbage. I don't know, Cindy or Michael, do you have a?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. Thank you. Yeah, so I think the issue was that was using manpower to do all that manual shredding, so that efficiencies in other areas of the department couldn't take place. So by hiring this company, while it did increase that line, it increased the efficiency for other individuals to be able to do other things that were crucial to our department.
Okay.
And it's
same thing with the robocall.
Yeah, and we're not shredding our medical records. We're, everything goes to the Hall of Records, but there's a lot of documents that are able to be shredded.
It also ensures confidential records get shredded properly and that there's no error in that.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for all your work, and look into that texting thing, because that might be able to save you some money, be another option for your folks.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay, yeah. Thanks so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grimm. If there are no other questions, we just want to thank Dr. Giordano for his service. And we know that you've been working very hard. We also know the condition of the people of Albany County and the need for the services that the mental health department does provide. So I just want to thank you so much for all that you do and the people that work with you.
Madam Chair, that means a lot. Thank you very much. And we appreciate your support and the support of the rest of the legislature. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. As we move on right now, we're going to go to the Health Department, which is found on page 125. And our presenter is Dr. Whalen, who is the Commissioner of Health. Dr. Whalen, are you with us this evening?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and legislators. And I'm very happy to be here tonight to present our 2022 budget. I'm joined by Shanna Witherspoon, Assistant Commissioner of Finance and Administration. And I know you are all aware that since the beginning of 2020, the Health Department has been involved in the unprecedented work that is associated with the global pandemic. Since that time, we have done individual case investigation on over 30,000 cases of COVID-19 and worked to ensure that greater than 95,000 individuals who have been managed on quarantine, isolation and quarantine, as you know, are very important
You're muted, Dr. Whalen.
Dr. Whalen, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Could you hear me at all, or just
no?
It looked like it just went.
You went somewhere.
Okay, I apologize. Yeah, I got that on my screen. It said that the host would like to mute you. So I don't know. You can hear me now. Okay, so, as I said, we have continued with vaccination efforts, including large-scale vaccine clinics. We saw many of you there and appreciate all the support that we had both from the county executive and from the legislator. It really has been a joint effort to get this out. We have vaccinated greater than 50,000 Albany County residents and facilitated vaccinations for well over 80,000 county residents. It has been an incredibly challenging time. And we have now continued to do that and prepare, as we spoke about in the beginning of this meeting, to vaccinate the pediatric population and to roll out boosters, which we're very enthusiastic about doing. We are also working very closely with the schools with the aim of keeping kids in person learning, which involves a tremendous amount of work with surveillance testing and diagnostic testing. And that has been a tremendous effort as well. So our budget, I think, is a great budget. It's a result of a lot of hard work. I think if you look at the budget, you'll find that it's mostly the same as last year, with the exception of additional funding that we received from state and federal partners for case investigation, for the school efforts I just talked about, and for the community vaccination efforts. We have created no positions and we have eliminated no positions. So I'm very happy to take questions on this budget.
Thank you very much, Dr. Whalen. I do see that Ms. McLean Lane has her hand up, so I will recognize her right now.
Madam Chairwoman, thank you very much for recognizing me. I only have a comment. I do not have a question. I have been so impressed by the yeoman's job that has been done by your agency. It is truly impressive, and I could not be more supportive. And anytime I have called your agency for support on issues, they are completely responsive. Even if I called as a constituent to the agency, they have been so responsive and so kind. Dr. Whalen, all I can say is I am impressed and I'm appreciative. I cannot imagine how much you had to do for the past 2 years.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. They are greatly appreciated. I do have to credit so much of the response to the phenomenal staff that we have here at the health department. It is a group that, I knew before the pandemic was an incredibly hardworking group, but they have really proved their mettle. And I think we've done that in a way that has brought us all together and united us in the work that we're doing. And I'm very proud to work with each and every one of them.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to recognize the chair of the Health Committee, Mr. Ray Joyce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Whalen, Ms. Witherspoon, thanks so much for everything you've done over the past 22 months. We get the thank you. I'm going to do it again. But same question as I had for Dr. Giordano. That is everything in your department has been have gone above anything we could have expected as far as what we needed to meet the needs of our everyday life here, as far as watching the numbers. And I think I told you we watch them daily at where I work at National Grid to make decisions. And as I mentioned to Dr. Giordano, this time last year our 7-day average was around 7, and I think today I saw it was around 87 cases. And we've had, we've discussed this in the past that, if you watch trends, our first spike was at the end of October last year. So I think we're going to, with that 5-day average, I'm concerned about the winter, but more so I'm concerned whether or not you have the budget you need in place for 2022 to meet the needs of this pandemic, which surely we're not out of. You become probably front and center. The Albany County Department of Health for Albany County is probably when one of our most important departments over the past 22 months. So I want to make sure you have everything you need to meet the demand next year.
Thank you so much for asking. You know, as you look at our budget, you can see that there are positions that are available, and we have had a turnover of staff that's very similar to what's happened in many other departments. I think that what our core strength is related to is really the leadership that we have here in the health department through the division directors, who are have been with us the whole time. They are really the engine that keeps this health department going. They are very valuable workers, and I believe that, you know, they're doing a great job, and I believe that the budget that we have put forth will enable us to continue this hard work.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Whalen, and thank you, Ms. Witherspoon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very welcome. I have a few questions for you, Dr. Whalen, and I'll start with the first one. This year, an additional $140,000 was transferred to the RN and PHN nurse part-time line. The line is being reduced to $50,000 next year. Do you anticipate that there will be adequate funding for 2022?
I do. Yes, I think that, you know, we continue to recruit nurses that are coming into the department, and you know, we have been lucky. We have, through our efforts with the vaccine clinics and the MRC, had some of those individuals decide to apply for positions within the health department. You know, nursing is certainly a core position in the health department, and you know, as Dr. Giordano said, we are often in competition with our hospitals for nurses and the state health department. So we do, you know, continue to recruit and hopefully be able to be retained.
Very much. I'll move on to my second question. In your fees for service line, could you discuss the nursing COVID EpiSchools expense for $3.1 million?
Sure. So the $3.1 million that you see is related to the school testing that we are doing. So as you know, in accordance with state mandates, there is a need to test children to keep them in schools. So the schools are mandated to do surveillance testing, which means testing asymptomatic students that are coming in to make sure that they are not COVID positive. The testing has been a very steep learning curve for the schools, as you can imagine. We have contracted with Quadrant Biosciences, who is providing us with the test kits. And so we provide the test kits to the schools, and we work very closely with the schools on issues related to COVID control, whether it is choosing classroom contacts that need to be quarantined. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that. And you'll see our budget has school specialists that are, you know, tasked with working specifically with the schools, because we get a tremendous amount of calls every single day. And it really does require, you know, a very strong effort to have the ability to have the surveillance testing and also to have diagnostic testing available to students in the various districts so that they can keep the in-person learning environment.
Can I just ask you a question? If you have this information, fine, but how many schools are being served in Albany County?
So I can tell you that we have 12 school districts, and 10 school districts have aligned with our quadrant testing. Some other schools were utilizing free test kits from the New York State Department of Health. So all the schools are in compliance. But those, there are 10 school districts that we are currently working with on the quadrant tests, and also 22 private and independent schools. We've also started to work with pediatric practitioners. We were hearing that there was a big concern in the area for the pediatric practices. The doctors were saying, we're having a tough time evaluating sick kids because of the amount of COVID testing that's required. So we're working with them to be able to get these free test kits into their hands that are very user-friendly in a hope that they will be able to streamline their testing process as well. So we have currently 3 pediatric practices that are working with us, and we hope to increase that.
When you said the school districts, okay, so you don't have the number of schools. Take, for instance, the city of Albany has so many schools.
Right. So if it's a district, it is all schools are within the district are working with us.
Okay. All right. All right. So thank you very much. So now I'll move on to the Environmental Healthy Neighbors Program expense of $218,597 for 2021 is eliminated in the 2022 fees for service line. Is the service being changed or cut?
Shanna, can you comment on that? I thought that that grant was being reestablished.
Right. So we got notification from the New York State Department of Health that the current grant, which ended officially March 31st, 2021, is going to be extended, but they did not give us a dollar amount. That's why it's not in the budget. So when we get the official notification, we will do an RLA to bring the money in and then put it into the 2022 budget. So the services will continue. We just didn't get a dollar amount. That's why it's not in the 2022 budget.
Thank you very much. Mr. Graham, I see your hand up.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Whalen, my question, we've seen where some health entities, they've lost employees because of they don't want to get vaccinated. Have you had that problem in your department?
No, we have 100% compliance.
Okay, good. All right, thanks so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, I do believe that answers all of my questions. And Dr. Whalen, I just want to thank you very much for all of the work that you are doing. Really, words can't express the monumental job that the Department of Health has had over these past 2 years. And we know we still have something in front of us too. So I just want to continue to encourage you and your staff so that you do know that we are 100% behind every effort that you undertake to keep Albany County safe, to keep us up to date on what's going on, and to ensure that we are all healthy. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I want to thank all of you because I really have felt the support through this entire time. And it's been my honor and pleasure to work with every one of you. And I look forward to continuing to do so.
Thank you very much. So now as we move on to the last agency this evening, it will be the nursing home, which is found on page 320 of our budget book. And Mr. Slatke is our presenter. And are you available, Mr. Slatke?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Very good. It's good to see you this evening.
Thank you.
And of course, in your presentation, please tell us and give us the one question that's on everyone's mind. Is the census for the nursing home?
Well, I'll somewhat discuss that in my brief opening remarks, and I will make them brief. So we'll have enough time to answer any questions that the committee will have. And thank you for having me, and thank you for the support that you've given our facility, along with the county executive and his staff. And as you could see from the previous three presenters, I am privileged to not only work at the state-of-the-art nursing home of Albany County, but also to work with the people that you've heard before me. They are truly amazing people and giving people to the healthcare field. I can't tell you what it is, what a pleasure it is working with them. Well, as I stated, we do have now the state-of-the-art nursing home, not only in the county of Albany, but in the state of New York. We have dealt with all the challenges that have come before us. I think the nursing home is doing extremely well, understanding the circumstances that we've dealt with. We have an unbelievable, like the other departments, dedicated and sincere staff that put their selves and in the forefront before family at times, caring for the frail that we're privileged to care for every day. So the nursing home is doing well. There's not really many changes to our budget. It's very similar to years past. And the biggest challenge that we have right now is staffing and filling vacant positions, which has been really a common theme throughout the years, but more so now than ever before. And we have put into place a couple programs to deal with recruitment and retention that will hopefully start this year, but clearly will be energized into next year to try to fill the gaps. And that's important because getting to census, we need the appropriate staffing patterns to increase census. Right now, we have an average census of around 200, 205. We stay within that number because it's consistent with the staffing which we have to date and being able to provide quality care. And as you know, we now are a 4-star overall CMS rated nursing home and 5-star quality. We're also in the number 2 percentile with quality indicators, only one away from the top position. So all things are going well on the quality side, and that can't be done without the support of the county executive and his staff, and of course the legislature, which has been always so kind to us. I will tell you that our Medicaid rate has now been given to us with the capital included. And that is now approximately $300 a day for Medicaid residents, which is the highest it's been in the history of this nursing home. And putting it in perspective, when I took over in 2014, the Medicaid rate was $167. So it's almost double what it was from there. And that deals primarily a lot with the way we do our case mix, documentation to get all the dollars due us for the care being provided to our residents, and of course being reimbursed for the capital that was spent. We did get notification from the health department that all of our capital for this project that was submitted is being 100% reimbursed. So that was a commitment that our facility made to the county, and I'm happy to say that we were able to facilitate all of the paperwork that was necessary to make sure that we got the proper reimbursement. So that being said, I open the floor to questions, and I'm ready, willing, and able, I hope, to answer anyone's concerns.
Thank you very much, Mr. Slatke. I see that Mr. Grimm has his hand up, and I'll be recognizing him first.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Larry, there's on 322 of the budget, you have appropriations and revenue, and the appropriations is 31.8 million, and the revenue is 33.8 million. Now, I must be reading something wrong there because you're in the red, particularly after the COVID year, aren't you? So I guess, what is our financial status, and especially relating to our status in the red?
Yeah.
Can you explain those numbers?
David Riley's on the phone. So okay. If he wouldn't mind, sure. I'll allow him to answer that question. But that being said, we have a really very strong budget, and we're looking in 2022 with the proper staffing in place, which we believe is going to happen. Our revenue will increase significantly, and the nursing home will be being in a very strong financial position in 2022. David, you want to answer that, or you want me to take it?
No, as I can jump in as well, Larry.
Thank you.
Mr. Grimm, as Larry started stating there, basically this budget is predicated on a full staffing model and a full census model. Without the budget in place for that staffing, we would have no way to have a full census, full complement of paying residents. So hopefully, as we're working on here on various retention things, some pay things that you guys have passed through your body in the past couple of months. Hopefully some of these initiatives stick and we can get some more staff out there to take care of some more people.
So you say, Dave, could actually, the expectation may be that we could make more money than we spend if we can staff up and get more people in the census?
Yeah, so when you take it down to a mathematical equation, a per bed cost, you take your fixed costs, your variable costs, as well as your revenue estimates. With the case mix that Larry has gotten us up to, if we can get to a full census, yes, we're in the red, or we're in the black at that point.
Okay, and where are we now, Dave? Do you know, where are we? I guess we're still in the red at this point, aren't we?
Correct. Yeah, we're not at that point at this point. We're doing everything we can to get the staffing up.
Okay, Larry, do you know any idea what that red number is today?
I don't have the exact number. I'm assuming with the extra dollars we've been spending on PPE, the loss for this year is probably going to be somewhere around $6 million. And a lot of that deals with cash flow, as you may be aware, with the bond issue that we're dealing with. And I'm very confident that will be corrected by 2022. That will give a $2 million to the bottom line and spread out the payments to reimbursement. With the PPE from FEMA coming in, meaning reimbursement for staffing and PPE that we've been spending and COVID testing from the Provider Relief Fund and FEMA, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape even in 21 once we're able to get those dollars to offset the losses due to these additional expenditures that we've been making.
Are we able to use some of the money we got from the feds there, the rescue plan, to alleviate some of the losses in the nursing home?
David would have to answer that because that's coming directly to the county. I will tell you this, that we did receive approximately $1.4 million in stimulus money that really decreased some of the losses that would be on the books if in fact that money wasn't received.
Yeah, that stimulus money, that was before the additional money though from the rescue plan, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So Dave, where are we on the rescue plan? Is some of that money being steered into the losses from the nursing home?
No, the nursing home losses are not allowable losses as per these scenarios. The stuff that we are currently working on our FEMA filings, as Larry said, other streams like that. So there will be revenues coming in that are not realized at this point, but no, not rescue plan money.
Okay. Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. Grimm. I see that the elder chair person, Carolyn McLaughlin, chairman, has her hand up, and I'm recognizing her.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Mr. Slatsky, thank you so much for being here tonight. In light of current census data, United States Census data, that has determined that our population is aging at a significant rate, and by 2030, over 20% of the residents in the country will be 65 years and older. Are you looking at any of that kind of information and forecasting any trends for our nursing home?
Oh, without a doubt. That's why I can't tell you how pleased I am that we have the type of nursing home that we have today. We will be able to care for that population, and depending upon, of course, their illness, we'll have the capacity due to the structure and the individualities of our rooms and how they're made. We will be a force in the future to take care of that population. I'm pretty confident that the nursing home will be able to serve those individuals that will need our type of care. I do believe that, the population will get sicker, and that people who are right now maybe in assisted living facilities, adult homes, there'll be a different type of setting for those individuals, and nursing homes like ours will take care of those that have more acute type illnesses.
Also, along with that, the numbers also indicate that the diversity of nursing home residents is going to change significantly because of some of the things that you just mentioned in terms of illnesses that will come into play. And so, are there any measures in place to address the diversity issue as well in terms of the residents as it relates to the quality of life that they will be offered in nursing homes? Are you making any provisions for things like that?
Well, in all honesty, we treat everyone as an individual and who needs our care. That's who we provide it to. We're a part of our community, and if our community changes, those are the type of residents that we'll be caring for. That's our mission. So whoever's in our community, that's who we'll be caring for. So if it's a diverse type group, or that's what the nursing home will be doing in the future.
I'm just speaking to this. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on this, and the nursing home population is going to change, and the diversity has changed the trend around the country. There are more people of color going into nursing homes than white people, and it's documented. So I just think that we need to be cognizant of that as we do planning for programming and the like in our nursing home, so that everyone feels this is their home.
That's really an excellent point, and very well said. The nursing home has, as an example, activity committees made that are representative of the resident population that decide the programming. So they decide what they want to hear and what programs they want. We have a menu committee made up of residents. They decide what they want to eat. So if the population changes and there happens to be more people living in our nursing home of color or from any part of Albany with specific ethnic background and a desire for certain types of food, our menu will change to accommodate those residents.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. You'll be hearing. I look forward to talking with you in depth about some of these things, but thank you so much for your response.
Oh, no problem.
I just have one last question. Well, I have a question for you. As far as decreases are concerned, the intergovernmental transfer is down $1.4 million. Can you comment on that, please?
Yes. The federal government, the IGT comes from the feds to the state and then from the state to us. And the federal government cut the contribution to all government entities across the United States. And therefore, our nursing home received a lesser amount. In addition, and this is why the nursing home is going to do extremely well in the future, IGT is based on Medicaid days. And our Medicaid census has been down, when you look at Medicaid residents only, probably around 160 in the year being captured for the IGT payment, around 160, 170. As we speak today, it's around 165 Medicaid days a year. When the nursing home is filled, those Medicaid days will jump from 60,000 up to 75,000. And we will be getting a daily rate based on IGT income on a higher Medicaid census. So the future is very bright for us. That number is going to go back up to what it was years ago, especially if the feds start increasing it back to where it used to be. If they keep the numbers where it is, we'll still get a larger amount, but it may not go back up to the dollars we used to get of around 9 million, 9.2 million, which we received a few years ago, but it's going to be significant.
Okay, thank you. And I have, this will be my last question. The New York Safe Staffing Law, Do you have enough people to comply with the law?
As we speak today, no. We do not have enough staff to comply. Right now, that mandate takes effect January 1st, 2022, and it's requiring 3.5 hours of care for every resident in a bed. 3.2 of those hours are very clear in the legislation, and the makeup would be a specific number of CNAs, LPNs, and registered nurses. And then the 0.3 would be a combination of that group to get to the 3.5. Our master staffing plan, which we are below right now, but consistent with the number of residents living at the nursing home, probably is a little under 3 hours right now. And we do have a plan, as the commissioner stated, of recruitment and retention that will permit us as needed and as the census grows to get to that number. The whole industry, which I hate talking about, has the problem. I don't like to discuss what's going on with every home in the state. We have to deal with our issues locally and make it work for our nursing home. But there are many lawsuits right now against some of this legislation, and not so much that the industry disagrees with specific staffing numbers to accommodate the resident need, but supply is just not there to meet the demand, and to create legislation when the supply is not there sometimes doesn't make much sense to those actually with boots on the ground. So we're very close to the numbers that we need to have, but we're not at the 3.5.
Thank you, Dr. Slatsky. Mr. Mayo, did I see your hand up?
Yes, I had a quick question. Hi, Larry.
Hi.
I know you said at a previous audit and finance meeting that if, as you did tonight, that if we had the staffing, we would be able to fill the nursing home. And you also said at the previous audit and finance meeting that the nursing type workers talk out in the community. So wouldn't it behoove us to kind of knock it out of the park with the salaries or hourly, maybe raise it $3 an hour? It would still be a moneymaker for the county if we could raise the nursing type workers, all of them, say $3 an hour, and they were speaking out in the community and they found out that our nursing home was a better pay than other places where they were working.
That's a very good point. And I believe to some extent it's true. And everyone has been gracious enough over the last year to allow us to have specific targeted increases, such as the last one to our licensed practical nurses. But I believe, for argument's sake, take CNAs. They're definitely getting industry norms. They're being paid what the job calls for. And I don't believe throwing more money into their annual salary will bring in more people. I think the real answer, which we're working on, and we have very good plans in place, it's about recruitment and retention. And it's the way we treat our staff, the way we respect our staff, the way we work together as a team, and making this a home that people want to work in. The money's important, don't get me wrong. And there are certain salary levels within the nursing home that need to be looked at and maybe massaged a little. But the direct care staff in the nursing department, except for maybe one category, are really being compensated what they need to be compensated. But if we have to go to agencies and you have to be, paying these agency rates where they're really taking advantage of the industry, there may be a necessity to give our staff a little bit of a stipend to show our appreciation and to balance, what they're going to be talking about. I make this, we make this, because they don't take benefits into consideration when they look at their base pay, but, we do. So it's very close to what you're paying an agency. But I think if we look at that as a whole and get by, this particular point in time, we'll be fine with the amount of money that we're paying our staff.
Okay. All right. thought maybe throwing money at it would take care of it.
I wish it did.
Yeah.
I think if it did, the county would say yes, and I would ask for it, and I think everyone would agree if that was the answer. I think it's part of the answer, but it's really not part of the solution.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So before I close the meeting out tonight, I would ask Ms. McLaughlin, would she please address the Human Service Agency chairs and staff that have presented tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to really reach out and thank the Commissioner Rattano, Dr. Giordano, Dr. Whalen, and Mr. Slatsky for being here and presenting us with a clear picture of what we can expect in your organizations, both financially and operationally, and what you're going to be doing. I believe that these organizations are responsible for our most vulnerable citizens. And these are the persons that we're going to be judged by how we treat these folks. Are the people who are mentally challenged, are seniors, and those who just really require services that we are responsible to give. And so I just want to thank you for the hard work that you put forth. And I know it's not easy. And we are here as a legislature, I believe, to support you in everything that you're trying to do. And thank you again. And we look forward to working with you in the coming year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, so I'm going to ask to adjourn right now. I just want to thank everyone for participating. And I also want to extend to the members of the legislature, your attendance is so important. And thank you all for coming out this evening. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Madam Chair.
Ms. McLean Lane.